The other thing we've been doing, which I think is very important, is actually in terms of the structuring of schools. I suspect most of us in the audience went to secondaries, at least looking at some of you, in terms of you just went to that school. You turned up, there was a long corridor, there was classrooms of 55 square metres, etc. Despite the fact that this is a significant programme, there is not enough cash to do everything one wants. So actually, this is about building communities of schools. So if you take our Gravesend area, actually all of the 9 secondary schools sat down, worked out how they were going to deliver some of the lessons. We don't need 9 A-level physics laboratories. Actually, one school needs it. They need to work together, sets a common timetabling to build all of that in. In the old days, we'd have built 9 separate everythings, as opposed to actually working through to make sure that, one, it provides the efficiencies, etc. 2, it also actually ensures that the learner has access to the best teaching available in a district. Peter's touched on this morning the notions of communities and putting something at the heart. And ours is very much about how we actually build all of those sets of facilities in. So actually everything is built around, ideally the school in our case, but it is about just trying to ensure all of that's joined up. Actually conscious of the time, and if I'm just going to jump to the end. In terms of thinking about some of it, in terms of some of the lessons learned, one, for local authorities going through and listening to Paul, parts about actually what you drive out from the private sector. It's about, we've only got a certain amount of funding. Bottom line is, until the contract's signed, actually the authority is the client's in the driving seat. We were still negotiating with the 2 bidders 2 minutes before we put the phone down and rang them both back, one to say you've got our contract and one to say you haven't. And actually we got quite a lot out in the last 10 minutes of phone calls, because they were both sitting there and actually they'd invested so much in it. Actually it was important. It's about driving some of that through. There's a real need for local authorities to join up. Our second LEP, which, touch wood, we will get approval for by the end of this month from Partnership for Schools. Actually, the ODU notice is actually sufficiently wide. It's got a map of the southeast of England and potentially opens it up for authorities in the southeast of England for any services. We have the potential for a vehicle to move it forward. The reality is, smaller authorities, actually the cost of going through sets of procurement, we really have got to be far smarter. As I said, the output specification, I think, is actually quite crucial. It's about, certainly for us, not saying we know all the answers. It's about saying what we want to achieve and working with partners to deliver it. And the other bit's about forward planning. Actually, we started work on every single one of our waves. We've started with the schools involved a year before they're going to enter. So they've worked through all of their thoughts about what's possible, how they're going to work, and all those sort of things. And also using that time to talk to all of the parties. And actually that finishes me inside 2 seconds, Chris. So if I stop at that, actually, I've hit that, even if it's been slightly rambling. So thank you very much indeed.